We say things that don't mean anything, but thanks for listening. Yeah. Hello, everybody, and welcome to We Say Things episode 236. Suns fan here with Cinderin wearing a We Say Things t-shirt. Congratulations to you.
Thank you very much.
How are you doing, good sir?
I'm okay, Shannon. Thanks for asking.
That's great to hear. I'm
ready to say things.
Yeah, I'm very happy that you're ready to say things. Can you start us off with the In Bruges cheer because I forgot to do something?
Okay, I can.
Thank you.
Thank you to Crownfall Enjoyer, Captain Broccoli, STGC Daniel, Humboldt Bookmaker, recommends Relic Arena, Practicing Belch to win wife back from Pyrian, Mr. I love the Yatoro does it again Cinderin segment, Pepperballs, T-Coil, Q-Lutes is ready to praise the podcast, Yatoro does it again Cinderin, Vlad, let's have Puppy on the podcast. Disco Farm D, The Mega Pope, Zan Xavier, Nate Thicko01 Hamscroats, Shark TM, Janie, Dop, Nothing to See Here, Yes Oui Ivrement, Wooden Aftertaste, Anonymous, and the world record for running a marathon backwards is 3 hours, 25 minutes, and 24 seconds. That's actually unbelievable. What the fuck?
I couldn't do that running normally.
No, me neither.
Maybe in a car, though. I think I could. All right, I have turned off the belches. We avoided any unwanted belches on the show, Center. We were a very professional podcast, of course.
Amazing.
That's very right. Good job. And in every Dota podcast, every esports podcast, what the first topic of discussion, of course, is the NBA segment, Cinderin. So let us discuss the playoffs of the NBA. This is blinding. I apologize. The Celtics 4-0'd, aka sweep the Pacers into the finals. They have had the legitimately easiest road to the finals in NBA history. The Pacers...
Excuse me, is this what this looks like on their homepage?
What do you mean?
It looks terrible.
It's actually, for some reason, it's hard to find good-looking NBA brackets. This is
literally everything is grayed out and you can't see the scores.
Well, that might be because I have dark mode. Which inverts everything, like my penis. So anyway, the Celtics make it to the finals. No big surprise. They're the favorites in general. And then in the other side for the Western Conference Finals, the Mavericks versus the Timberwolves. The Mavericks were up 3-0. And again, have to remind you, no team has ever come back and won, being down 0-3. The Timberwolves have won game 4 now. So it's 3-1. So we'll see what happens. Okay. Of course, what I'm fearing is, I know there's some Maverick fans that watch this. I am not rooting for you. And so many people ask me, is it because you hate Luka? No, he's fucking incredible. It's because I hate Kyrie Irving, because he's an anti-vaxxer, anti-Semite, and flat earther. How can you root for such a vile human fucking being? So if anybody else wins, it's a win in my book. All right, but it's looking like the Mavericks will probably get to the finals.
Let me give you a thought experiment here. Let's say your favorite player is on a team and the player you despise the most is on a team and it's not your own.
I know.
Do you want them to win or lose?
Wait, you're saying that player that I despise the most is on my team?
No. There's one team in the NBA that has your favorite player of all time.
Yeah.
And the vilest piece of shit of all time in the same team. Do you cheer for them to win or lose? They're not your own team.
That's tough. That would be Kyrie Irving and Steve Nash then on the same team.
Yeah, I mean, that could definitely happen.
Okay. No, that can't because he's retired. But if that did happen, I would root for Steve Nash just because Kyrie Irving already has a championship. Like, the damage has been done, right?
Okay.
So it is what it is, whatever. Second part of this NBA segment is actually kind of interesting. The Suns, of course, out of the playoffs and just horrible future and whatnot. But keep in mind, we've spent the most money out of any team. We are over the second apron, as they call it, so we just can't do anything. We can only sign minimum contract. And there's a rumor now of something insane happening, which would be hilarious if it did, but there is no way. So LeBron James, we talked about his son. Let me just bring him up here. You see a picture. That is his son, Bronny.
LeSon James.
Bronny James. Pretty close, actually.
God, I could have called him such a missed opportunity.
He is considered not an NBA prospect in the first round at the very least.
Okay.
He's basically he's committed now to going to the NBA draft after only 1 year in college. And the reason is because LeBron has said in the past that he wants to play with Bronny before he retires, because that's going to be the first time a father and son have played on the same team, which honestly would be an incredible accomplishment. The fact that LeBron is 39 and he's playing like an all-star still it's unheard of. It's actually unreal. So because Bronny could force LeBron to go to another team, in theory, he's actually being talked about as a first-round candidate, maybe. But so before the draft, typically players will work out with like a bunch of teams that have a pick that they think that, maybe will land in this area. So let's work out for 10 to 15 teams or whatever. Bronny James has committed to only try out for 2 teams, despite more being interested. The Lakers, which of course LeBron is on right now, and the Phoenix Suns. Because theoretically, LeBron will be opting out of his contract this year in order to sign a massive one with the Lakers, which makes him $50 million a year. But he could opt out and sign the minimum contract with the Suns for $1 million, and we draft his son, and everyone's happy, of course. And the ironic thing about this, real quick, is that the thing that we're missing on our team, the 2 things that we're lacking, is a point guard and size, and he is both. He's actually a perfect fit for the team, but it's a pipe dream. There's no fucking way he's giving up $50 million.
I can't believe you think LeBron would be a good fit for your team. That's unreal. Yeah, I was just going to say, why on earth would he do that over just staying where he is? And then they get his son.
Because maybe somebody else drafts his son.
But his son doesn't want to.
It doesn't matter.
You just said that.
So it doesn't matter.
Right?
So a team can draft a player, right?
And they have to play for them.
Well, I mean, if you draft them in the first round, I'm trying to remember the rules. You can try to force your way out, but pretty much you're locked into like a 2 to 3 year contract as a first round draft pick.
Okay.
And you don't really have that much control as a rookie, but it is LeBron James' son. So I don't know. It's a weird one.
I'm just having this picture in my mind of LeBron's son being super bad at basketball, and this is just a prank. And then the teams line up to first pick him, and LeBron is like, "I don't give a shit. I'm staying where I am."
Yeah, it could be a ploy.
And then he's just stuck with his first pick son who can barely throw a ball.
He's. I mean, I'm not going to say he's terrible because he's obviously good at basketball, but you have to be really good to be in the NBA. So that's the news. All right, let's move on.
He just wants to play the guitar. He doesn't give a shit about basketball.
Oh, all right. Yeah, he's got guitar fingers. So, international 2024 direct invites and the road to TI Sindarin. So, the teams that are directly invited are Team Spirit, Extreme, Falcons, Liquid, Game & Gladiators, and BetBoom. Are there any surprises here for you?
No.
Are there any snubs?
I think the biggest surprise overall is that I don't even know how much of a surprise this is, but I was wondering if they were going to invite 8 teams. But I think this is a reasonable way to do it. I think what Valve did was they looked at, all right, how many teams are we going to invite? Who really separated themselves from the rest? And I think these 6 teams is reasonable. Like, if you were to invite 8 teams, the 8th invite, I had a conversation where I was like, yeah, they could deserve it, but it wasn't like obvious. I think for these teams, it's completely obvious. So I'm okay with this. And then obviously the slots that are being assigned to the regions will be relative to region strength, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not like, we got Falcons as well as Liquid and Gaimin from Western Europe, so Western Europe gets 1 slot. It doesn't work like that. So yeah, I think this is all right. I mean, all of these teams have had top 3 placements. All of them have been consistently good for a while. I know Gaimin had a little bit of a slump, but overall, across the year, this is my top 6.
Yep.
So.
Agreed. Totally agree. And because of this being announced, it means that we have other news with the schedule of TI and whatnot. So for the qualifiers, China and North America will be June 9th to 13th. Eastern Europe and South America will be June 14th to 18th. and Southeast Asia and Western Europe June 19th to 23rd. And dates for TI finally, Cinderman. So I'll just read
Why
this.
did they not announce these earlier?
I don't know.
I don't understand.
Okay, so after the qualifiers, once all the initial dust has settled and the tournament field has been filled out, the road to the international will continue when all 16 teams play in Copenhagen. The 2-day group stage will commence Wednesday, September 4th, immediately followed by the 5-day playoffs, a studio production that will run through Tuesday, September 10th. The international itself will be in Copenhagen's Royal Arena with the top 8 teams slated to take the main stage from Friday the 13th to Sunday the 15th. Fans hoping to attend in person will be able to purchase tickets starting on June 10th. And yeah. Your thoughts?
So first of all, this implies that there's only one crowd part, right? Because this was what people were debating, was whether it was going to be the same again with small arena into big arena. The wording here says that the 5-day playoffs are a studio production.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming this is not going to have a crowd until the arena days. So that's the first thing that stands out. The second one is they have an arena booked in, what does it say, 13th to 15th of September. This must have been booked for a while when you're making an event of this scale. So this is not like just planned. And I just wonder if they didn't announce the arena part until now because they were fleshing out what to do with what was leading up to it. And maybe they had other plans and then they settled for this, or just specifically because I feel like an event like TI, you want to give people notice, right? So they can take holiday or they can make arrangements, whatever they need to attend. And this is quite short notice, I want to say, compared to last year. I feel like they announced the dates for TI earlier last year, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I would say so. But the qualifiers were not so far in advance, right? This feels like it's way ahead of time versus normal.
Yeah.
Like June and the tournament's in September. That's 3 months.
Yeah, that is quite early. I think I personally am a fan of that. Maybe this is a little bit too early, but I am a fan of having them quite a bit in advance because it really helps with visa issues.
Yep, that is true.
So if you give them only 1 month, then it can go wrong, and that feels unfair to the players. Right?
Do you think Denmark has visa issue? Like I know the U.S. has issues with this all the time, but I don't know if it's the same in.
I don't know enough about our stance on that right now. With I could imagine that potentially it could be problematic for the Russian players primarily, but I don't know.
Do you have a prime minister or a president? What's your leader? Is it a king?
Prime minister.
Okay.
Yeah, we do have a king, but he's not the leader of the country. Yeah.
So your prime minister, it's somebody, I saw a Reddit thread that somebody that's higher up is trying to get Russians banned from the event or something like that. Did you read that?
Oh, yeah, I actually did. That is not the prime minister. I don't remember who it was.
It's the king. Okay.
I doubt that was the king. It does not sound like that's happening. So, but it is a legitimate concern, right, in the world right now, that when you have events like this, that would be the country that I feel like would potentially have the most trouble, but hopefully it doesn't become an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows?
Okay, let's move on to 7.36a. So,
yep.
I don't know which ones you want to go over. The first line seems pretty damn important, though. Force staff and similar abilities/items can no longer be used on leashed targets. It's like, why, of all the times to do this, why? So Slark's Pounce is affected, Puck's Dream Coil, and the reason, Faceless Void's Time Zone ability. Your thoughts on that? That's pretty big. Like, not being able to force that out of Slark's Pounce.
Yeah, okay, I thought you were going to say the time zone, and then I was just going to say, do you ever not take Chrono? You know?
I'm sure there's a build. There will be a build.
Maybe.
It'll happen.
Yeah, I don't know where this comes from. I think it's a pretty impactful change. I think the biggest standout here is easily Slark, who you would usually counter with this, and this is obviously going to massively influence his win rate, but whether it's fair or not, I don't know. I think the hero was pretty shit, so maybe this is going to make him more relevant. maybe it's not enough. We'll have to wait and see on that. But yeah, this is a pretty big change out of nowhere, and I wonder why it's in 736A and not in 736, which I actually think it might have been, but just been undocumented, and it was a bug, right? I think people were saying they couldn't force stuff out of Pounce already in 736.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Think so. Maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, tons of crash fixes, tons of bug fixes. I think we can just skip over those and then talk about the ones that are. So, really big change here. Eternal Shroud loses 5% magic resist. This item was busted, and it might still be too good, but this is a start. In the most recent tournament in Dream League, this item was being bought by Storm Spirit. So, that goes to show something. For example, it was being bought by multiple heroes that weren't necessarily usually buying it, but it just starts getting way too appealing. So, that's been nerfed. Let's see. I think the nerf to AA is quite meaningful. Chilling Touch loses a rhyme stack. That is the innate, where AA does more damage over time to heroes when he hits them with spells. And then what is generally going to be the trend here is that they're rebalancing the facets that were massive outliers. So here comes
some of them surprised
one.
Me. Some of them really surprised me. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the first one is Axe's one-man army, the one that gave you strength bonus relative to your armor when allies were not near you. This one had a really high win rate. So this one has been nerfed from 60 to 50%. And then also his innate has been nerfed with how much armor it gives on lower levels. Plus, it scales with your ults.
Yeah, it's literally just like the old Culling Blade. Literally the same now, right?
Yeah.
Wait, but you start level 1. So technically, yeah.
Yeah, you can technically get lane kills and then still gain armor until you get your ult. But yep. Bad Rider got some nerfs on Stoked, which was the left facet, which made you way stronger in lane. So now it levels with your ult rather than just starting at an insane amount. So it's a huge nerf.
I think the biggest nerf, though, is Sticky Napalm no longer grants vision. Holy shit.
That one is also
that is
quite
huge.
big. Yeah. Bad Rider was very, very picked and banned in Dream League. So I think he deserved a nerf. Whether this was the way to do it.
Okay, this is a noob question. What the fuck is Smoldering Resin? It says it's an ability that was nerfed.
That was his... No, wait. Arsonist was the one where he was dealing damage to towers. What was his left facet called? Was that Smoldering Resin?
I don't know. Maybe...
Or is it innate?
It could be innate, I guess.
I'm actually unsure about this one.
Okay, moving on.
It no longer works on wards or couriers. So, okay, Crystal Maiden. Frozen Expanse is, I think, a really big part of the reason this hero was banned a lot at Dream League. That left facet that gives you cast range and AoE bonus, and that was nerfed. It now scales with your ult instead of your aura, which is obviously a very big nerf. Next up, facet number 2 for Dark Willow, which I think was one of the best in the whole game.
Oh, yeah.
Which made 4 extra bramble mazes in the outer ring, which had half duration. And then your bramble maze increased spell amp on every target standing in a bramble by 10% for your whole team. They removed that spell amp. Goodness, that was something. Okay.
Yeah. The Death Prophet one's hilarious. So they buffed the silence slow, but the other one, the Spirit Collector, where when they die near you, you gain... Have you seen what it looks like when they get the Exorcist Ghost?
You get like a clone that looks like the hero, right?
Yeah, it's literally the hero flying, which is awesome. So the trigger, it used to be 2,000 radius. Now it's global. So any hero that dies on the entire map will add a soul for you. Very cool.
Interesting. And you don't even need to interact with the kill? Or
as far as it looks like, yeah. Why would you?
That is pretty crazy, actually.
I mean, the fact that they buffed both means that she must have sucked some major donkey dick, right?
Oh, she was played, and I think she looked okay, but maybe not as good as they wanted. I don't know. Dragon Knight.
Wait, hold on now.
Okay, sorry.
Disruptor, Kinetic Fence, Cinderin. I thought this was dog shit, and I saw it in a game. Like, I could see potential, actually. I know you're giving up Kinetic Field, but the formation delay was very quick, 0.75. Now it's 0.4. Got buffed again.
Very good.
It's a cool idea.
I think so too, but I don't know how to place this. That's why I kind of skipped over it. I genuinely don't know when it's good.
You make a V as they run.
Yeah.
You see?
Okay.
You see, Synderen?
I see.
Okay.
I see you.
Go ahead.
Actually, I don't see you, but I can imagine a V, what it looks like.
V.
Okay. Dragon Knight got his Corrosive Dragon nerfed. This was the way people were playing it at Dreamleague, and it looked incredibly powerful. So he lost some damage over time on Corrosive Dragon, and then he gained a little bit of cleave on the Fire facet, which nobody took. We'll see how this changes the hero, but yeah, the green form was crazy. I think this guy might still be a first pick mid, to be honest. Earth Spirit, the worst facet in the entire game, has been reworked. Shocker.
I wouldn't say reworked. It's gotten some added buffs, Synderen. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, that's essentially a rework.
That's not a rework.
Okay, fair enough. It has been changed to better, but not reworked.
Yeah.
Okay, so now Rolling Boulder. This is the right one where you have a 4-second cooldown on Stone Remnant, and you can never lower it. Maybe you can actually with Octarine, I don't know. But it's just 4 seconds at all levels, so you can't like place multiple stones in a row, but you have infinite stones. And now they've changed it so that when you finish Rolling Boulder, it creates a Stone Remnant in front of you. The problem with the old facet was that you would roll in on a stone, and then you couldn't cast your spells. So now you can, with a very specific placement of the stone that comes in when you roll, so it's actually playable. I'm curious to see if people are going to take this one.
I'd argue
the
this is easier. This could be one of those that's just like the Lycan treatment, the no micro kind of thing. This makes it easier to play.
Easier for beginners. Yeah. It is. But it might also be better in some cases, actually.
Yeah, potentially.
See. This allows you to run Magnetize indefinitely.
Yeah, true.
Because you don't run out of stones. So it's something. Elder Titan, whatever. Gyrocopter. So Afterburner was very popular when people were playing Gyro, because you got 4 movement speed per time Rocket Barrage hit anything, which meant a full barrage hit was 120 move speed, which was not fair. And therefore, it only gives you movement speed now when you hit heroes, which is a much better way of implementing that.
Yeah.
Jug, finally relevant, so we'll nerf him immediately. They made Blade Form significantly worse. The pros were taking the other one, but this one had way higher win rate. So I guess they just didn't get the memo, but the one they didn't take got nerfed. So I guess the pros will be more comfortable because they played him wrong. Legion Commander. This hero was first face banned pretty much the whole tournament, and it's specifically because of the facet that now got nerfed by 50%.
Yeah.
So the overwhelming odds gave you a barrier equivalent to how much damage it dealt to heroes on cast. And that was ridiculous. So it's been halved, and now it no longer gains barrier from damaging illusions. I didn't even know it did that. That's even more ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
If you were laning against an illusion carrier, it was genuinely unplayable for them. So, good riddance. All right, Lesh, also very popular left facet with mana restoration when he's attacking creeps. With now it only gives half on creeps while full on heroes. That is the most of it, I think. The big one.
Magnus reverse polarity buffed.
All right, I'm already looking further down.
So you don't think? Okay, at what point does this become good enough, Synderen? There's got to be some strategy that makes this good.
I don't know. It's obviously a meme, right?
It is, yeah.
They put it in there because it's funny to have reverse polarity. I don't know when it's good enough. But it's weird.
They could have just called it polarity.
Yes, I actually think that would have been funnier for me personally. But I think they were worried people wouldn't get the joke.
Yeah, that's fair.
This is very on the nose.
That's fair.
Okay, PA was trash this patch. Her Stifling Dagger now counts as 2 attacks for the coup de grace counter. So that's quite interesting. That's when you take the methodical facet, that is. Maybe this is going to help her quite a lot. I still don't know about that one, to be honest. I feel like her facets kind of suck.
By the way, then going back up, Night Stalker didn't get any changes to his facets, which I found interesting. So both must, because we were talking about which one we thought was stronger.
They're
Based
both
on,
very good.
yeah, I guess they're both amazing.
OD lost 1 armor. I guess we should mention that. I have no fucking clue why that happened, but it did.
Okay, good.
Pudge, excuse me. Big nerf on the dismember facet. I don't know why, but he doesn't get nearly as much strength while dismembering as he did before. But then he got a buff on the hook facet.
Yeah.
So that's fun. More damage when you hook people. Always nice.
Mm-hmm.
I think you are way more likely to take that one out. I mean, maybe the dismember one was overpowered,
Well,
but the hero barely sees pro play. So
wasn't I'm trying to remember, wasn't meat hook damage reduced for the right facet? Like what?
How do you mean?
Close hooks did less damage or do less damage, right?
Yeah.
So
the base damage of hook was reduced.
I don't think this changes that though, right? So it might.
Yeah.
Like I would still probably take the strength one.
I don't know how far away you need to hook people from before Flayer's hook makes it do more damage, but it can't be that far.
I don't know. I'd have to test it.
Yeah.
Oh, this one's cool though. Sand King, Dust Devil. Yeah. So the sandstorm that it would follow you around perpetually. Now it actually will, because even if you leave it, it will fall. It will eventually catch up to you. Mm-hmm. That seems legitimately good.
I feel like that's how it should have worked from the beginning.
Probably, but they probably thought it was too strong.
I thought that was how it was going to work when I read the original one. Because otherwise, like, yeah, it's cool that it follows you, but how much mobility do you really have if it doesn't follow you if you leave it for a moment? So, okay, I think we're about to approach. Oh yeah, Sven, base strength increased by 4. Because we randomly reduced his base strength by 4 and didn't write it anywhere last patch. And if we put it like this, people will never know that we fucked up. Don't tell anyone. All right. Major nerfs to TA. Justified.
God
she
damn.
was nuts. She was banned a lot at Dreamleague, and she was picked a couple of games, and she lost every game. But trust me, she is.
I think this was
form. She was ridiculous.
The changes to barrier, like conceptually, it might be my least favorite change in the patch. I was talking about it on stream, and I think maybe you talked about it as well. Like the idea that damage over time was a counter to a hard carry is just inherently interesting. Like that is so random and weird that makes it cool. And now that's not the case. So I don't like the changes at all.
So the thing about it is damage over time instances are obviously still good against her, because what you want to do is you want to overkill refraction by as little as possible, right? Otherwise, you're wasting damage. But beforehand, you could break a refraction charge with lower damage instances. Now you need to do, at this point, it's 50 damage per barrier on level 4. But because it's a barrier, it's after reductions. The way barriers work is that they take reduction into account first. So you're not dealing 50 damage. If she has armor, you're dealing the armor coefficient down to then dealing 50 total damage before you remove 1 stack. If she has magic resist, etc., etc. So, yeah, I'm with you. I feel like the old refraction was a way more interesting design, and the hero didn't even need to be redesigned, in my opinion. It was popular and it was good. So, I don't know. This one is a bit of a miss for me. Speaking of misses, Terrorblade, his right facet now only costs 15% of your current health instead of 20. So you can kill yourself a little bit less when you've chosen the wrong facet. Make sure you take the other one. Tinker gets 17 buffs because he's the worst hero Dota 2 has ever had, bar none.
I think some people would disagree with you on this.
This hero was so... Okay. Disclaimer, I didn't play it, okay? But I also didn't see it in a single game. And I read over the changes and I was like, what the fuck is this? This was some of the most...
I'm not
if
saying...
you remember our patch analysis, this was one of the most visceral reactions I've ever had to a hero change.
That's like, true. Usually you have zero emotion. That is accurate. So I will say this, though. I'm not saying it's good, okay?
Okay.
But I guarantee you most people that were playing it like the old Tinker, like a core. This is in no way a core hero. If it's good, if it's even reasonable or somewhere along that line, it's a support.
Yeah.
I don't think it's good, but I think most people were not playing as support, and it's possible that they overbuff it at some point because nobody's playing it as support, and then when they finally do, it's going to be busted, right?
Yeah, so basically Tinker's win rate went down to like 33%, which is almost a historical low for the game. In Immortal or Divine Plus or whatever it was atrocious. And like you said, I think a decent chunk of it is because people were trying to play it in a way that didn't make sense. But the problem I had was if you play it in the way that does make sense, I think it was still too bad and just worse than almost any other support. So it's like, what's the point, right? It's like some extremely, maybe there was like a 1 in 100 games where it's a good pick, but then you need to be able to identify it and you need to pick your support late, which doesn't happen either. It's just the hero had no place. Now he got a lot of different buffs. I'm not going to go over them. It's mainly just numbers changes, but I still heavily disagree with what they did to this hero, and I'm not a Tinker player. I don't really care about it that much playing it, but I don't think killing the hero's identity like this makes that much sense. In comparison, when Techies was changed, which was a hero that was also obviously extremely polarizing in the community, I can understand why people that love playing Techies were frustrated, but I personally, and this is just my bias, I think the way that hero influenced the game was infinitely worse than Tinker. But I know for a lot of players that are, especially like Tinker is way more solvable the better the players get. And I think Valve's concern was that people are pissed off at playing against Tinkers in lower MMRs that are really good, and it's an insane Smurf hero.
Yeah.
So maybe this is specifically a way of trying to alleviate that a bit, but I don't know. All right, Tiny was very popular as a carry at Dreamleague. He loses some slow resistance on Insurmountable, and his mana costs get nerfed a bit. I think he'll still be very good. They make Visage better with the stone form. I am not a Visage player, but I saw some people talking about that this makes the hero feel way better. So that's good news.
You can cast stone form on Visage while silenced or stunned now. That's
so you don't need to
pretty
tap
ridiculous.
Wait, hang on. But is this also for yourself, the one where you get the invulnerability?
So I read it the first time, I was like, why wouldn't you have been able to cast this on your familiars when you're stunned or stunned? It doesn't make sense. Then my chat's telling me that it's the stone form for Visage himself when you get the shard, or is it the shard? If you're stunned or silenced, you can become stone form. That's the way I read it.
That's just a huge buff.
That's the way it works. I didn't test it though, but that's why I'm reading it.
I mean, the wording does imply that.
Okay, the chat is now saying that I'm wrong. So, chat, just talk to each other, okay? Because first you said I was right, then
I mean, the following sentence says it will not have effect if familiars are silenced or stunned. So that would imply that you on Visage can press stone form to drop your birds, but it doesn't work if the birds are silenced. So in other words, this is the part of it that affects the birds, I think.
Okay, whatever.
That's the wording. Anyway.
Whatever.
Wyvern got nerfed on the damage facet. This hero got some play with mixed results. It was particularly good for Falcons. We'll get to that. And Wraith King Spectral Blade gets nerfed as well. This hero got a big win rate bump, and I think Spectral Blade had the better results over Bone Guard. So, that's the patch. A lot of numbers tweaks, mainly facets. This is what I wanted. I thought some heroes were completely busted. I think a lot of them still are, and they will get nerfed again. But now we try this first. I think the most nerfed hero in this entire patch is probably Legion Commander, but also the one that deserved it the most. That facet was absolutely fucking ridiculous. So fine.
Yep.
Good
Couldn't
riddance.
stand playing against that one. That's for sure.
Yeah, that was absurd.
Okay, you've changed the outline. So
yes.
Next.
So we never got to talk about the results of Wallachia, and that's because last episode we were going to, but then we had a giga patch and spent 4 hours on that instead. So let's do some catching up on that first. So Wallachia is a tournament that did happen, and the reason I'm bringing it up, despite it being a little bit old, is that we did do a prediction for it. So we never got to check how our predictions went. So I'm not going to go over all the results like we usually do with tournaments because it's kind of old by now. But I'll just quickly check the predictions that we did. So we both predicted this was the one where we were boring, right? We were predicting the same top three, and then we were like, okay, then we have to put them in order, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the outcome of the tournament was Spirit first, Extreme second, and Falcons third. These were the three teams we both picked, so we got the top three right.
Yeah, but I got it horribly wrong, I'm sure.
You said Falcons would win, so that's incorrect. They got third. You said Extreme second, so that's correct. That's what it was where they placed. And you said Spirit third.
Yeah.
I said Falcons second, which is incorrect. Extreme third, which is also incorrect, but I picked the winner. So I don't know. I feel like we did well, Shannon. Okay, we predicted the three teams, and I got the winner, and you got the second place. So
we'll call it a tie. Sure, why not?
I think that's a tie. All right.
All right, good.
And then next up, we got Dreamleague, which is more recent, so I'll talk about that in a little more depth. I also was there for that tournament.
Yes, you are.
I'm gonna look this up real quick. There we go. So this one I think we didn't do predictions for, so we're not gonna go over that. But I guess let's start with something that's not a surprise but sad for them is Liquid once again cannot play Dreamleague. So they got knocked out in groups again. There was a stat during this tournament. I don't remember the exact numbers, but I believe it was something along the lines of win rate at Tier 1 events this season. For Liquid, it was about 60% at all other events and 27% at Dreamleague. That is such a funny stat. I can't fucking believe it.
At what point did the patch come out for this tournament?
It
after
came
the group
out
stage?
after groups. Yeah, after groups. If I remember correctly. I believe it was after groups. So that did not influence this. Or was it the last day of group stage with like a couple games? The vast majority of this was played on the old patch. I don't remember if it was the last day of groups or the first day of playoffs that it came out. But anyway, yeah. So in groups, no really big surprises as far as the top of the field. Gaimin, Extreme, or I guess Gaimin were a little bit of a surprise because they haven't been looking that good lately, but they were on an upward trajectory from recent tournaments, and they really kicked it up a notch here at Dreamleagues. They looked very good, and they also looked very good on the old patch, so it wasn't just, new patch, Gaimin, lucky, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. They were crushing the group stage on the previous patch, so they were playing way better. Extreme got second in that group, and then Aurora and Heroic went through. Liquid and PSG Quest got eliminated, and in the other group, Falcons got first, surprise, surprise, followed by Tundra, who have also been looking quite good lately, and then Azure Ray and BetBoom scraped by, and Shopify and Navi got eliminated, which I think were the most likely to get eliminated from that group. So not too big of a surprise in the group stage overall. You look at the groups, you're like, wow, Liquid didn't make it, but then you remember it's Dreamleague and there were no surprises. So, playoffs. The patch drops, and BetBoom have not looked good lately, right? Especially I think in Wallachia they did very poorly. In this, they barely got out of groups. They just scraped by. And then the patch drops, and BetBoom, in contrast to Gaimin, who are already doing great, I feel like BetBoom were the big winners this event from the patch coming out, because I think it's really elevated their play. They were playing a lot better together. They were trying new stuff. They seemed more motivated. There was more energy going on. And that actually managed to carry them the entire way to third place. It's quite rare that a team that barely scrapes by in groups places that well, but I definitely think the patch was a godsend for them. So that was fortunate. For the other two top teams in Gaimin and Falcons, they just played awesome, regardless of patch. So they both 2-0'd their opponents in upper and got to the upper finals, where Gaimin also 2-0'd them in complete dominant fashion. One of the games was 20 minutes. They just ran them over and got to the finals. And then Falcons in lowers had to beat BetBoom, which, as alluded to, they did because BetBoom got third. Falcons beat them 2-1. And then comes the grand finals where Gaimin Gladiators is unbeatable in best of fives, and therefore they got beaten 3-0 by Falcons. So this tournament really had it all. Falcons very much leveled up after their loss. I thought Gaimin were going to sweep this tournament without losing a game.
Has there been a finals that Falcons haven't swept? Maybe one?
Yeah, I think so.
They lost one, 3-2, I think,
they lost
Extreme.
The finals to Extreme, right? Yeah.
But most of their finals have been 3-0, most of them.
Maybe all of the ones they won were 3-0s, now that you say it, actually.
It's really weird, too.
They're very, very good in finals, for sure. But yeah, just the way the tournament was going overall, it looked like Gaimin were the team to beat. I thought what was going to happen was they would 2-0 Falcons, and then I thought I actually thought Bet Boom were going to beat Falcons 2-0 because they had been playing so well in lower and really improved, and I felt like Falcons were a little bit behind, specifically based on the gaming series, but that was just a fluke. They figured things out after that loss about what they did wrong in the draft, and then they just played so much better the next day. So very impressive, and obviously, I think in some ways this is a more impressive tournament win than some of the others they've had, specifically because of the way they did it, right? Like, they got absolutely curb stomped in the uppers, and then they just 180 the next day and go 5-1 and beat their original upper finals opponents 3-0. So good stuff. That was that tournament. It was a lot of fun. And obviously spicy with the new patch in the middle of it all. We were working as a panelist for this kind of event was a very unique experience for me because it went from I know what I'm talking about to I have no clue and Twitch chat might be better than me at video games.
Those are my favorite. We
were there on panel, and literally the panels were not really so much about our predictions of, this is how these drafts interact. We think this team got the better lanes and whatnot, and more like, okay, what does this facet do?
You know, the funny thing, it reminds me of...
So
I haven't been on panel in a long... I've been on panel every now and then, but being a panelist for the entire event, it's been a long time. And I remember there was a point where there was a huge patch. I can't remember. It was it was before our captain's draft tournament, but it was for Dota Pit. And everything was so different, and everybody is so lost. And that's one of my favorite experiences at a tournament. Just theory crafting when no one knows what the fuck is going on. That's the coolest shit. I love that.
It also makes the green room experience really nice when we're sitting down after doing our analyst segment and we go to watch the games. The way people talk about the games is very different, right? Like, everybody is trying to learn, everybody's curious, everybody's asking other people opinions about, is this good, is this bad? Was this a misclick? Like, when you see some of the facets chosen, you're like, I cannot believe they took this one. And then in the next game, you see they take the other one. You're like, well, okay, So definitely an interesting experience. This patch is still very young, and the next upcoming tournament, which is starting in very soon. Hang on, when is it? It's like in a day or something, right? It's very, very soon. We have... So the Fissure Universe 2 tournament, which is Tier 2, is ending today. But the next upcoming one, is it actually TI Qualies? Yeah, TI Qualies is the next Tier 1 tournament. Okay.
Teams have time to prepare then.
Yeah. Not very much, though. I mean, the qualifiers start very soon, so it's like in a week.
So the next thing I wanted to talk about, Cinderin, let's delay that for next week because I think the Dota API has been down a lot. And the stats are kind of all over the place. So I wanted to, just for people to know, I wanted to talk about which facets or which heroes were the winners and losers. I don't think we need more time to actually collect that. So we'll skip that for now.
That's fine.
So the next thing on the list past that is Saberlight is no longer with Shopify Rebellion. He has been replaced by the one and only Mind Control. Does this surprise you at all? I mean, Shopify, they've been getting out of NA relatively consistently, but they haven't really done much in terms of placing.
I'll say the first thing that stood out to me when I saw this announcement was, is this the picture you choose for this?
For who? Saberlight or Mind Control?
Yeah, for Saberlight. Just like, thank you for playing with us. And then he just looks very disappointed in the time he had with the team. There's actually something about his face here really reminds me of Elon Musk. I don't know if you can see it.
A little bit, I guess. Yeah.
It's the overall... I've never made that connection before, so I think it's specifically the facial expression here. It's just resting Musk face. Thank you for playing with us. I don't know. I guess you also don't want a picture where they look all smiling and thumbs up, then it feels disrespectful, right? So I don't know.
There's no good way to do it. Yeah,
it's probably not. I mean,
but Saberlight, I'm not. He made a post basically saying that there's no hard feelings and that he felt like it was the right move anyway. I think they left. They parted mutually, if I'm not mistaken. But essentially, he said that one of the players, which now there's speculation who that is, there's no chemistry. It's not good enough chemistry. So
Right. Sorry, bro. It had nothing to do with what you said. It was just someone in your chat just pointed out that literally next to him it says his positive spirit. Oh my god, it's so good.
Anyway, and then on to Mind Control, who gets a new lease on life. Obviously, there was a lot of drama with Tundra, so
yeah,
not sure what that was all about. But do you think that he'll have? Do you think he? The thing that's weird with me is maybe being an analyst, it's easier to distinguish. It's like when I'm looking at the NBA or something like that, and a player goes to another team, I can say, "Oh yeah, actually, he'd be a pretty good fit because his playstyle is this and this." I don't really get that feeling with Dota players a lot. Like in some cases, yes, but does anything like that come to mind for you? Like Mind Control fitting in with Shopify?
So the main thing I'm thinking about is I think Mind Control is good enough. I think he had a decently long break from playing Dota entirely, so I think he's just going to need some time to warm up, which hopefully he has enough time before the qualifiers. But I think the main thing they're looking for in him is, first of all, he has a lot of accomplishments, right? But I think also what he has said in interviews and just in general his approach to the game, I think he really likes having other leadership in the team, right? So if one of the problems they had internally with their player combination beforehand was that the voices didn't match, maybe they feel like someone like Mind Control, who seems to have more of an approach of, I would like a strong leader to really decide what the team does as an entity. If that's what they're looking for, then maybe he will fit in quite well. He's probably also had a lot of time at after parties under the influence of having great conversations with Bulba, so they definitely know what they're getting into. I will add to all of this. I wish Saberlight the best of luck. I think the guy is a really cool dude. I think he's a very skilled player, and I think he will be an asset to a lot of other teams. So I'm not looking at this as, oh, Saberlight wasn't good enough for Shopify, because I definitely think he was. I think it's understandable that in some team dynamics, player pairings or trios or whatever just don't gel well together. That's the game. And I think, unfortunately, because of that, I think multiple players in this team looked worse than they are. And I think he's one of them. So I believe in the guy. I think he'll find a good team, and maybe he'll play in Western Europe. So he's also very young, so there's plenty of time.
So our next topic was not Dota related, but I actually forgot that I wanted to briefly talk about the Dota 2 extension, and I don't have something to show here. So actually, let me see if I can Google Dota 2 extension. Okay. All right, we'll just put this Reddit thread that I made a long time ago. It's the first thing that came up on Google. So a lot of people have been messaging me about whether the extension will be updated to fit, get the facets and all that stuff updated and all that. So after talking with Buka, he implemented something. I think this came out. When was the patch? Was it Thursday? Well, whenever it was.
I think so.
So he essentially kind of hacked something. He hacked something in. That's going to sound worse than it is. Basically, it's like a very brute force update that would be immediate. So if you go on somebody's stream that's using the extension properly and they've installed it and whatnot, it'll show some of the facets and innates, but it's a bit buggy because he couldn't put an actual update out because apparently Twitch has not accepted any new extensions since January with like their whole review process. And that includes like big updates. So if we wanted to actually update it properly, they haven't given us dates yet. We're trying to get in contact with them to see if that there's a way to just push it through because we've been doing this for a long time, of course.
Dude, what are the odds that whoever in Twitch was in charge of that got laid off? And then they just didn't fill in the position.
Yeah. So
I feel like that's what happened, honestly. Like,
the TLDR is that the extension kind of works, but it's not going to be perfect because we just couldn't send out an actual update to the extension because Twitch doesn't have they literally have nobody doing it right now, as far as I
mean, I hope you still get to sell it to tournaments. That kind of sucks, right? It's like you have a product that's really good, it gets bricked by a patch, and you don't get to fix it.
Right. Yeah.
And tournaments are paying to use your extension, right? So it's kind of dumb that.
Yeah. Plus, it says in this Reddit thread, it's the #1 most used extension for games on Twitch. So
yeah,
I feel
people
like
really
they should care about it.
Really interact with it. So it's just a really bad This is a quality of death, as we call it, patch from Twitch.
Pretty much.
Unlucky.
So hopefully that gets resolved soon. Next thing on the list, Sindern, is Deadlock, aka Neon Prime. New name is Deadlock. So I'm just going to read a short tweet by a Twitter account called Gabe Follower, and I'm going to give a short rundown of what happened. Okay? So, Deadlock, next Valve game, previously known as Neon Prime Citadel. Competitive third-person hero-based shooter, 6v6, battling on huge map with 4 lanes, usable abilities, and items. Tower defense mechanics, fantasy setting mixed with steampunk, magicians, weird creatures and robots, fast travel using floating rails, similar to BioShock Infinite. Basically fast-paced, interesting ADHD gameplay, combination of Dota 2, TF2, Overwatch, Valorant, Smite, Orcs Must Die. Hero design pretty much inspired by Dota universe. Main map references modern steampunk European city, a little bit like Half-Life. Initially, game had sci-fi elements inspired by Half-Life and Portal, but after bad feedback, dev team decided to focus on fantasy. So, real quick, the game is in closed beta, and a couple screenshots and then videos started to leak, and they were pretty low quality, and people were looking at it like, man, this game looks like shit. So since then, there's been an explosion of leaks, which I assume Valve have kind of okayed to this point because they're 4K, high quality. I can't say that for sure, whether they've okayed it, but there's just been so many. And I'm going to play a video showcasing some of it in the background as we talk.
All right, hear me out, okay?
Yeah.
What if Valve deliberately have people leak it so it isn't officially coming from them because they feel like it's going to make the community say they look bad for announcing the game with that trailer or teaser? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true too.
Like,
that's fair.
So there's 2 options, right? Either they really didn't want leaks, or they were at a point where, okay, we're ready for something to be shown to the community, but we don't want agency. That'd be like the Valveest thing ever, wouldn't it?
That's true.
Like,
that's true.
Because they don't want to interact with the community. And then if you are officially posting and showing the gameplay, people are like, okay, this is what we're going to be referencing and comparing it to when we talk about this game. The way they did it with Dota, when we got access to it prior to TI1, was absolutely hardcore, no leaking anything, was what everybody was told. Don't show anything to anyone, nothing, no pictures, no video. And the reveal of the game was meant to be TI. So that was the version they wanted to show to the world. With this, there's no like announced tournament, there's no announced event or anything that is meant to present the game, basically.
Yeah, and I think part of it might be just getting feedback from people when they watch these videos. And I see somebody typing in chat that this is closed alpha. I mean, they can call it whatever they want. This is, in terms of the quality, you can see this is like high res. This is not an alpha.
This is more beta.
This is not an alpha. I mean, obviously there's stuff that's unfinished. That doesn't mean that it's not a beta though. Like I think the health bars look a little undone, but
yeah,
overall this to me looks relatively polished. But yeah, what do you think of the? I mean, we've talked about this in theory, like the idea of a game like this, and now we're seeing it firsthand. Long videos, like actual gameplay video. These are just showing off some of the skills. I can skip ahead to actual gameplay, I believe, at some point. Yeah. So here, this is a little lower quality resolution, but it shows the actual game. So to me, it looks more like Smite than I was thinking it was going to. Because you have like these creeps, you have objectives, like it's very Dota-like in that way. It's third person and not first person, which
it has 4 lanes, right?
Yeah, 4 lanes, so that's a difference. It's just this constant pushing. There is it's not like Overwatch where I didn't really play that much Overwatch, so I'm trying to remember some of the details. But I believe when you die in Overwatch, you respawn right away, or it's pretty quick. This one, feels more closer to the Dota side, you know, not like a full minute, but you're out of commission for a good while to allow the other team to push or whatever. But yeah, what do you think? Does this interest you?
Yeah, I think it looks fun. The main question I have about now that you see the gameplay come out in the genre is I'm a little bit worried for Valve that they're missing timings when it comes to game releases, right? So they did Artifact, which was always going to be compared to Hearthstone
Mm.
and what it did differently from that. Then they did Underlords, which was always going to be compared to Auto Chess and TFT, right? And then now they're doing this, which has multiple competing games. So if you want to
but
win,
none of them are alive. The competing games.
Let me think. I suppose so. So this is, I guess that's even riskier than you could argue, right? It was like I think Valve make really good games, right? Let's be clear about that. But recently, they've had a couple of misses, and I think they really want and need this to be a hit. And I'm just worried for them that the genre and the timing is off. But overall, this gameplay for a beta, it looks really smooth. It looks crisp. I think it will be fun for a lot of players. Is it applicable to pro? I don't know. I also don't know if that matters. But like overall, looks fun and like it has a good flow. And there's a decent chance that players that let's say enjoy a game like Fortnite could be pulled into this potentially, whereas other Valve titles will not attract that audience. So I think this potentially hits broader in terms of like age groups, for example, where the younger gamers are trending toward games that are extremely fast paced and nonstop, just flashing lights. Like they want to play pinball constantly. Not literally pinball, but the equivalent of that with modern graphics, essentially. Right. So this looks fast paced and rewarding in that sense. And yeah, I feel like that trend really started with Fortnite, with these, you drop in, you play rounds that if it goes great, you go far. If it goes badly, you queue a new game after literally 2 minutes. I don't think this game is going to work like that in terms of like just raw time investment, but I think the flow of the game is going to feel fast and smooth like that. And there's a good chance that will hit with a lot of people. I definitely look forward to trying this game. I think it will be fun. But people always need to remember that betas are betas for a reason. So there's probably going to be bugs. There's going to be things that are really unfair, things that are not fleshed out, things that are going to be iterated upon and become more fun. But overall, it looks like a good time. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know if this has been received polarized. Has it, or are people like?
Well, it started out less than polar. I mean, what does polarizing mean? It means some people hate it, some people like it, right? At first, it felt like everyone was disgusted by the idea because
overwhelmingly negative.
Yeah, because
when they saw the footage,
footage was just super low res. I'm telling you, it did look pretty bad. And now that there's high res stuff, people are like, okay, I'm excited about this. And then for me, first of all, I hope this is a hit. I hope that Valve, because
me too.
Supposedly, I don't know if it's been confirmed, but the rumor is that IceFrog is the one that's been working on this for how long now, and on and off the Dota team or whatever. I don't know if that's actually true, but that's what people say. So we'll see if he can have some of the same magic that he had with Dota. For me, it's just, I'll definitely try it when it comes out. It is not my style of game. I'd be exceptionally surprised if I would like to play this like regularly, because I think the third person makes it worse for me as well. But even without that, I didn't really get into Smite. Overwatch, I despised. TF2, we talked about that a bit, but TF2 is the only Valve game I have not liked. And that's in part because we talked about it. They had like the teaser for it 8 years prior. They remade the game twice. It was supposed to originally be more like a Battlefield, like serious type of game, and then it became like the cartoony type, which just wasn't for me. And I love TFC, by the way. TFC was one of the best games I ever played. So TF2 wasn't for me, and then all these games that are similar, unfortunately, it just doesn't interest me. But I hope it's good. It does look relatively polished. Like some people are saying it does not. I don't understand what they expect. For a beta, this is pretty far along. This is like 80% probably,
Is it just because they have a different expectation of the aesthetic in general at that point, right? It's
Maybe.
like when there's let's say there's lower res leaks and people are like, this looks bad. Well, guess what? Look at the video quality. Or the resolution. Like, obviously, this is not going to be the final product, right? Valve is not going to release a game with 480p. What the fuck?
True.
So that one is a bit surprising to me, first of all, that people would genuinely think that is going to be the final product. Either it's an early low poly alpha, or it is just bad recording, right? There's no way. So now that we see the higher quality stuff,
I get
I
to
mean,
see
you
my
can
ASMR
disagree.
there.
Yeah, you can disagree with the aesthetic, right? Like if you don't like how it looks, that doesn't mean it's not close to the final look. It just means it's not your taste, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Like it's like playing Fortnite and then being like, why is this a water gun? Well, it's because it's meant to be a fucking water gun, you know?
Right.
Like it's not meant to be an AR or whatever. So I I think for what it is, especially when you look at, I want to say the environment in this game, I think that looks pretty close to finished for what they are going for in style. And I personally don't mind it. I don't think every game needs to look like, let's say, hyper realistic or uh
I mean, what games of Valve look hyper
yeah,
realistic?
that's
It's
fine.
like Counter-Strike's the closest, and after that, it's
Yeah.
mostly cartoony stuff, right?
Yeah, and that's fine. Like
Like they
it's a
haven't made a
video game.
Half-Life
It
in how
doesn't
long now?
Honestly, for me, I prefer when games have an art style that's executed properly rather than it trying to be something that it isn't, right?
Yeah.
So, for example, a game like Hades, which we are often referencing as a just a masterpiece, right? I absolutely love the aesthetic of that game. And it's not realistic or like perfect or whatever, but it's really, really good for what it's trying to be, and it's super cohesive, and it's just, it's just complete, I
Yeah.
guess, is what I'm looking for, right? And this, it doesn't look fully complete, but it's kind of close when you look at the gameplay from high quality. Like you can improve some things, of course.
Yeah, I'd be interested to
You
see
could,
like if they're gonna focus on esports at all, because like these types of games are a mess to cover. You know, like
yes,
Overwatch, it's so much clutter.
it's hard to
It's hard.
follow.
Like
Yeah.
the camera view itself, like that's the hardest thing to capture.
Mhm.
But I'm still interested in seeing it, maybe trying it, whether it's free to play or not. I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah, what do you think? What business model do you think they're going to do for this? I think that's a valid concern after what happened with Artifact,
Well,
right?
if you look at the game, let's talk about the competitors, right? The second Overwatch, I believe, is free to play.
Hmm.
Chat, you're gonna have to correct me if I'm wrong on this. I think they changed it from the first Overwatch. I think it's free to play with unlocks of like the characters or whatever. And then Smite. I mean, Smite's really old at this point. I don't know about predecessor. If anybody know about the predecessor monetization, because
I've
that's a
played it.
similar game.
It's just I believe I bought that game, and then you can also buy skins, but it's pretty cheap. Let me see. Nope, never mind. This one was free to play. Oh, that's right. It's free to play, and then you could buy bundles for. They have a free to play the game, but pay to play characters. So kind of like League,
Yeah. Okay. So
where you could either pay currency in game or real money to unlock characters.
all right, so by that indication, then, if you just compare the comparable games, I would expect it to be free to play, but who knows?
Free to play with skins like
But
Dota,
I think the
I
thing
think.
that interests me the most, and maybe Slacks would agree with me, is that this is totally new IP. These are like
Hmm.
characters we've never heard of. I'm sure there's going to be tons of lore. I believe there's like some comic, animated. What was it? What did they call it? Shit. What are those comics called?
Meet
No, no, no.
Meet the series from TF2
Nah,
or
there's another term, but whatever it is. But yeah,
SFM.
no. I'm interested to see how they progress with like the lore
Mhm.
and whatnot, because I don't know if they had Dota characters before, but some of the characters are really similar to Dota. Like one of them, you attach to an ally and you share healing. I'm like, oh, that
Mhm.
sounds familiar. Yeah,
I mean,
maybe it's a web comic, something like that. Yeah,
you could also argue that it's similar to the medic from TF2, right? It's that's closer to medic than to IO.
yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
But yeah. Anyway.
Okay, so that is Deadlock. We'll probably talk about it as we get new information because it is a Valve game,
Yeah.
and like I said, TF2 is the only Valve game the only one I didn't like. So who knows? Maybe they'll surprise me with this bad boy. Okay, we are over an hour, Sinner, but I do want to talk briefly about
Okay.
Relic Arena.
Yes.
Our closed alpha is starting today. For people that backed us on Kickstarter, you're not one of them, but you're in the alpha. So just preferential
I'm a
treatment,
very, very bad friend.
just
Yes.
nepotism and whatnot. If somebody's watching this and they had no idea that the closed alpha was happening and you're supposed to be in the closed alpha is because you never responded to the survey and you never gave your email or did anything to try to figure out when that's going to happen. So do that. But I thought it would be cool to show some early footage, Cinderin, of a spell.
A little bit of an intended leak here.
Yeah, we have a spell that I'd like to show.
Don't tell me it's the fucking Rat King again.
No,
right, it's not.
It's not the Rat King. So I need to explain a couple things. Of course, there's so much missing in the game still. I don't know if you guys have seen this arena yet, but this is the Easter Island arena, and I don't think I do it here. But
this is a great educational piece, by the way. This is what an alpha looks like for the people saying what Valve posted is an alpha.
That's true.
There's like text boxes. It's not, the UI is completely unfinished.
The UI will not look like this.
This is what an alpha looks like. And do you remember the alpha posts from Dota 2?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like the hero icons.
Those are amazing, actually.
Spells,
yeah.
That is what an alpha looks
like. Those
are
amazing. So, that's true.
Yeah, I would agree. They're way closer to beta what they posted. Anyway, go on.
So this is the Easter Island arena, and the 3 statue heads that you see are all interactable, and I don't believe that I even touched them in this video, but one of them blows bubblegums, which is hilarious. So the spell I want to talk about is called King Tut's Mask, which is in the bottom right here on the bench for now. And I'm going to end up moving up to the caster, and it's level 3 right now, so it hasn't gotten to the super level. So as a base ability, it drops a sarcophagus on top of somebody. It's essentially Hex, right? So they get stunned for X amount of time, and then while they're in the sarcophagus, they take extra damage. So it's like the Shadow Shaman Hex amplified damage or whatever. So we'll watch that here, what that looks like. Now, keep in mind, the animation, the orientation of the sarcophagus is actually backwards. It's not supposed to be like that. You can see it's actually back. And then when it opens, it's not supposed to be that orientation either. So it's kind of hard to tell what's going on because they're coming out of the wrong direction.
Punching him through the back of the sarcophagus.
Yeah, so just ignore that. This is alpha, like I said.
God, I love alpha so much.
So the super, I'm going to go over all 3 supers. So these are, you can see the tooltips here, also very basic. These are what we call the simple tooltips. If you hold Alt, you end up seeing like all the details, but we're not going to go over that. So after the sarcophagus opens, something happens with the super. So the first one I'm going to show is exploding frogs, because it's the idea of like the plagues of the pharaohs, right? So you're opening King Tut's sarcophagus, it opens, and this one, frogs come out, and they they explode on a target nearby. Okay, and obviously some of it is scuffed right now. Don't worry about that.
Yo, can you go back 5 seconds and watch them hump the corpse again?
No, we're not going to watch that. Not safe for YouTube.
Great.
The second super, it's a locust plague. So locust will spawn out and basically hits everybody other than the target that comes out of the sarcophagus, and it lowers their physical armor. Okay, and that's indicated by this red shield above the ranger. And then the third super is the opposite of that one. It's minus magic armor, and it releases, it covers them in boils. Okay? So you can choose whether to just do a bunch of damage or lower their magic armor or their physical armor. So here is the boils. And of course, the Juicy, aka the Gaben, I'll hover over here, I believe, is called Thunderstorm of Hail and Fire. You can watch this one. This one's kind of crazy, I'm not going to lie. So essentially, we'll spawn a shit ton of fireballs and ice balls, if you want to call them that, from the sky, because it's a thunderstorm of hail and fire of King Tut Pharaoh. So that's just an example of a relic in our game. Like I said, there's some stuff that's a bit scuffed, but you can. It's actually funny. I didn't even mention this, but I mentioned this in prior episodes. When you put a relic on a hero, it physically puts it on their model, right? So this mask, you can see on the caster, who's our smallest model. It's just like taking up half of her body, which I think looks hilarious. So, yeah, that's a little sneak peek, but closed alpha.
Nice. Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's it for this episode, Cinderman. We made it to an hour and 10 minutes. Good
job,
stuff.
Everyone.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. Until next time, Sunsfan and Cinderin signing out. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
We say things that don't mean anything.
Subscribe.